Well, hello and welcome to this reading Euripides video, and I'm going to just read through and translate the Prologos to the play of Euripides, the Hekuba, or also called the Hekuba. This was a play generally dated between about 423 to 419. The play is set on the Thracian Chersonese, where opposite lies the smoking ruins of Troy, recently sacked and burnt. The action takes place in front of Agamemnon's tent. The time of day for the Prologos here is just before daybreak, and the ghost of Polydoros, who delivers the Prologos, is up on the roof of the Skene, possibly on the Mechane, but more likely on the roof of the Skene, and possibly wearing blood-stained clothes because he has been murdered. This Prologos is a rare example of a prologue being spoken by a character that does not in fact appear in the play itself, and it's the only example in Euripides of a prologue being spoken by a ghost. There may have been one of these in the lost play, the Polixena of Sophocles, where Achilles' ghost appears, and we do have references to the ghost of Achilles in this play. And indeed, some scholars think that that play of Sophocles may have been the thing that inspired Euripides to write this one. So I'm going to do it through carefully. This is really aimed at people who've done about a year of classical Greek. It's not aimed for scholars. There's nothing particularly learned in this. It's just a read through and a translate for those who've done about a year or so of classical Greek and would like to start reading some Euripides. And the prologues are actually quite a good way to get into reading Euripides. But I encourage you to go on and read the entire play. It's quite a masterpiece. So we have here Polydoro eidolon. An eidolon is an image. Often we translate it as ghost in Greek, so this is the ghost of Polydoros. And Polydoros will tell us who he is and give us some information about himself as we read through. Heko nekron kuthmona kai skotopoulas, lipon hin aides choris oikistai theon. Polydoros hekabes pais gegos tes kisios, priamu te patros. Hosme epe frugon polin, kindunos eski dori pesein helleniko, desas hup ex epempse troikas ktonos, Polymestoros prosdoma thraikiu xenu, hos ten daristain kersanesian plaka, spere philippon laon euthunon dori. So Heko, I have come. It's perfect in meaning in English, but it's present in form in Greek, Heko, and it's quite a common word in Greek poetry. So I have come, and we have a participle down here, aorist participle from lepo. This is the aorist participle lepone, having left the kuthmona, the hiding place, the hidden place, nekron of the dead, and the poulas, the gates, skotu of darkness. Hin for hina. Now hina in poetry can have the meaning of where, as it does here, and that's quite a common usage. You'll see it also in Homer, of course. So where, Aides, where Hades, oikistai. Now this is a perfect passive from oikisdo. Oikisdo is to found, or to court, or to set up. Here in the passive it's going to mean something like has been made to dwell, literally, or perhaps just is situated or is ensconced, might be a nice translation here. So where Hades is ensconced, choristheon, apart from the rest of the gods, so apart from the gods. And then he gives us his name. So I, the subject of the verb here, Polydoros, so Polydoros. Gegos is from ginomai. This is a perfect participle here, simply meaning born. You might wonder what's happened to the nu from ginomai. We get a reduplication here. The gun root, so it would originally have been gegnos with a nu. The nu becomes a sonant nu, perhaps written as an alpha, and then coalesces with the omega. So we get this form here, gegos, from ginomai. So born, so Polydoros, born the son of Hekuba, or Hekuba, daughter of Chryseis. Now, Euripides has changed the story a little bit here, because in Homer, Polydoros is in fact the son of Laothoe, not Hekuba, and Hekuba is not the daughter of Chryseis, but of Dymas. Now, the point of changing the story here, especially changing her father to Chryseis, is that Chryseis was a Thracian king, which makes sense of the fact, as we'll see later, that Hekuba and her husband Priam send their son off to Polymestor, their Thracian guest friend, because according to this genealogy, she was descended from Chryseis, the Thracian king. So anyway, so born the son of Hekuba, daughter of Chryseis, and my father Priamu, so Priamos, Priam. Hos me, and then we get an epe clause which goes on a little bit. Sometimes Euripides likes to do this. Does this elsewhere. Sometimes it's quite a long gap between this and what it goes with. So I'll just translate the hos for the moment. So who, and we'll hang on to that one. When kyndranos eske. So literally danger held or danger overtook. And we're going to get an infinitive, an explanatory infinitive here. So when danger overtook the Polyn, the city Frugone of the Phrygians, and then explanatory infinitive, that it to fall, literally, by a Greek spear. So to fall by the Greek spear. So we translate this as when there was the danger that the city of the Phrygians, we would say, would fall by a Greek spear, by a Greek army. The Pesane is the aorist, however, infinitive from pipto, probably here denoting a momentary fall, not a prolonged one, and hence we've got the aorist. So since that all happened, Hos, he, Deisas, having feared, so he, having become frightened, from Dado, aorist infinitive, or Dadia perhaps, hoop ex epempse. Now this is from hoop and ex and pempo. The ekpempo simply means to send out. When you put hoop in front of a verb, especially in poetry, it often means secretly. It has a sense of secretly, and that the object of this is the met, which is back up here. So in fear, he sent me out secretly, ex Troikes Ktonos, from the Troic land, from the land of Troy, pros doma, to the house of Polymestor, our Thracian xenos. Probably best to leave xenos untranslated, because guest friend is rather weak in English. Xenos in Greek is a very powerful term, very emotive term. A xenos is more than just a sort of a mate up the road. A xenos is someone you could really trust, who was connected in some way with your family. So this is a very loaded word here, and he puts it right at the end for emphasis, because this xenos is going to do terrible things. So to the house of Polymestor, our Thracian xenos, hos, who, this is referring back to Polymestor, spere is sows. So it's literally sows, teindi aristane plucker, this very best Chersonean plucks, this is the accusative here, plucker. It means a flat piece of land or plain. In other words, he sows, well, he undoubtedly gets other people to do the sowing, but he lives perhaps or manages this beautiful Chersonean plain. And the teindi here is deictic, so you can imagine the actor up on the roof of the skene gesticulating outwards to again let the audience know exactly where the action is taking place. That's one of the functions, of course, of the prologue, is to tell the audience the context, tell the audience who is speaking, we got that up here, tell the audience a bit of the story, tell the audience exactly where they are. So they're on the Chersonean plain. And here's euthunon, really a political word here of governing or ruling. The horse-loving people, dori, emphatic by being put at the end, by the spear. So he's no democratically elected ruler, he rules dori by the spear, which of course again would have had a lot of meaning for the Athenian audience. Polon desun emoi cruson ekpempe lathrai parter hin e pot iliu teke pesoi toist sosin aie paisime spanas biu. The subject of all this bit is pater down the next line here. So my father, ek pempe, historic present, sends out with me, sun emoi, polon cruson, much gold, and lathra, it looks like an old dative, it means in secret. It's just an adverb by this stage, so secretly or in secret. So my father sent out with me much gold in secret. Hina, now here it is in order that, and then we get an if clause in the middle of that. So in order that a pot, if ever the take, the walls of Ilium, pesoi is optative, from aorist optative from pipto. The aorist is epeson, stem is pes. So if ever the walls of Troy might fall, and then we after the hina we get an optative, there might be spanis, so it goes with the may, sorry, so no spanis, spanis is shortage, or yep, so shortage here, there might be no shortage biu, of literally livelihood, so, or sustenance of life, perhaps resources or something here, for the children living. This is a dative participle here from Tsa'o. So, in order that, if ever the walls of Troy of Ilium might fall, there may be no shortage of resources for the living sons. Now, of course, the point is at this stage there is only one living son, or there was, and that was this poor old Polydoros. All the other sons of Priam are dead. Neotatos de a Priamidon hoc kai meges hup ex epempsin Utiga ferein hopla, utienkos hoios te nioi brachioni. This is the A is the old Attic form of ain, the first person singular of the past tense of the verb to be. This is the imperfect. So I was Neotitos, youngest Priamidon of the Priamidae, that is the sons of Priam. Now the hot here is a little bit odd. It's probably that use of hot in the sense of de-hot, on account of which or wherefore, which you'll see this in Homer, but it's also common in poetry. So you've got to watch out for that one. So hot for de-hot, wherefore, for which reason. So because I was the youngest of these, that was the reason why. Hup ex epempsen, there's that verb we had before, he sent me out from the land. For, now we get the hoios te ami idiom. I am such that, so I am able. Hoios te ami is a stock idiom in Greek, in Attic Greek. And this is the, again, this is the A here, it's the past tense I was. So for I was able, ute, neither, ferein, to bear arms, to carry weapons, nor enkos, a spear. And then neo brachioni. The brachion is your forearm, but here it's just arm, I think. So on my young arm. So he sent me out because I was the youngest and I couldn't fight. Heos men un ges orth eketh horismata porgoi ta thraustoi troikes es enktonos Hector ta delphos humos eutuke dori kalos per andri threiki petroioi xenoi. And then I'll just move to the next page to get the sense of this. Trophoisin hos tiptorthos euxomen talas. So keeping that bit in mind. Now, men-un is used often in Greek when you're in Greek poetry, especially in drama, when you're about to introduce a new idea, something different. It's literally on the one hand, therefore. But so while then the horismata, now these are the boundary stones, literally, but boundary walls, I think here. The boundary walls of this land, ekaith, orth. This is from Kami. The tor has been aspirated because of the hot in here, so it would be ekaite. So while it's neuter plural, so singular verb. Sorry, ekaito, because it's past tense, so it would be ekaito. So while ever the boundary walls of the land literally lay straight, so stood or remained erect or remained firm, might be good to get that in here. So while the boundary walls of the land remained firm, te and the porgoi, the towers, were arthraustoi, were unbroken, of the Trojan land, and Hector, humos for hoemos, my brother Hector, eutuke, was faring well in battle, literally with the spear, beside the Thracian man who was my paternal xenos. Keep in mind kalos. The main verb is at the end here. Exoman, I was growing up, I was increasing, so I was growing up kalos well. Trophaisin, literally by nurturings, so perhaps under his nurture. Hos tis ptorthos, like some ptorthos is a tender plant, and so this is an Homeric trope and metaphor, and also it's biblical as well. So like some tender plant, talas, alas, but, and that balances that men we had before, but when Troy, the for te, and the psyche, the life or soul of Hector Apolutai, was lost, te, and the paternal Hestia hearths, katascaphe, this is aorist passive from katascapto, and so it means here, katascapto is to dig underneath, so hence to raise or overthrow, and it's passive, so undermined, so perhaps almost destroyed when the hearths were razed to the ground. And autos, he, now that is referring back to the father, this is Priam, and so he, sphages, aorist passive from spasdo, having been slaughtered at the Theodometo Bomo, at the altar, which was, well, either made, perhaps made for the god, or made by the god, depending on whether you take this as an active or passive adjective. It's probably, the dim root here is from demo, to build, so it's either made by the god, in which case that's what it is, or made for the god, in which case it's often translated as sacred or consecrated. So he, having been slaughtered there at the god-made altar, he falls, pitne for pipto. It's a poetic form of the verb pipto. So pitne, he falls. Ek often means at the hands of. So in Greek, at the hands of the crazy son of Achilles, that's Neoptolemus. And then we get a complete change of subject. It's slightly odd here. The subject actually comes down here for the verb back up here. So my paternal xenos kills, historic present, me. Oh, wretch that I am, talaiporon, so poor me. Charin, on account of, charin plus the genitive, on account of Krusu the gold. And having killed me, meth hek, the H from hina has turned the kappa into a chi. This is from meth hiami. He released me into the swell of the sea, hina, in order that he himself, Eke, might have the gold in the house. We'd expect an optative here after a verb in past sequence, but this makes it a bit more vivid. Kamai dep actis, I lie upon the shores. So his body, his actual physical body, has been washed up on the shore. This is his ghost that he's left, but the physical body lies on the shore. A lot. Now normally you get two of these, but we're getting just one of these here, and we're meant to take it really with both phrases coming up. It's an example of economy in Greek, so-called apokoinou construction. So at one time, here understood in the salos here, probably the swell. Salos is shaking, so the swell of the sea. And then we have to understand at another time, Pherumenos being carried by Polois, by many dialdois kumatone. doublings back and forth of waves. So the diaulos is a word that refers to the double lap of a foot race, going back from one end, back to the end, and back again to the start. So it's a metaphor here from there. We translate it as being carried by many ebbs and flows of the waves. And here's aklaustos, unwept for. The verb here is kleio, aorist eklausa, so they're using that klou root. Unwept for, and ataphos, unburied. The verb here is thapto, this is connected with. But now, isso, I dart. So I dart above my dear mother Hekuba, Ereimosas, having deserted or having abandoned my body. So this is a ghost, he's left the body back on the shore. I arumenos, this is a word meaning something like hover, suspended or hovering, because he's up on the roof. So suspended now, literally for the third day light, for the third light of day. So he's been haunting his mother for, this is the third day he's been doing it. Hoson pair, for as long as my mother, para, notice the accent here for para estin. So for as long as my mother is present in the Chersonese land, in this Chersonese land, again, deictic form here, so he'd be pointing again. So my wretched mother is present in this Chersonese land from Troy. And that's the first section of the prologue, and we'll continue this in the next video.